town of Windcrest, nestled amidst the serene countryside, stood a mansion that locals referred to as Echo Manor. The sprawling estate, with its ornate architecture and manicured gardens, had a history as intriguing as it was sinister. The mansion had been the site of mysterious disappearances, unexplained deaths, and generations of whispered tales of hauntings. Despite the eerie legends surrounding Echo Manor, it remained a place of morbid fascination for many. One fateful evening, a new Netflix series titled The Haunting of Echo Manor was released. The series delved into the mansion's dark past, promising to uncover the truth behind the unexplainable occurrences that had plagued it for centuries. As the series gained popularity, viewers from around the world tuned in, lured by the tantalizing prospect of understanding the enigma that was Echo Manor. The first few episodes seemed innocuous enough, recounting the history of the mansion's construction and its early inhabitants. But as the show progressed, a sense of unease settled upon those who watched. Viewers reported hearing faint whispers and chilling laughter echoing through their homes, even after they had turned off their screens. Some claimed to have seen fleeting shadows out of the corners of their eyes, lurking just beyond their line of sight. As the series delved deeper into the darker aspects of Echo Manor's history, the unexplained disappearances, the tragic deaths, and the rumored malevolent entities that haunted its halls, strange things began to occur in the real world. Doors that were once securely locked would creak open in the dead of night. Reflections in mirrors seemed to distort, revealing unsettling figures standing just behind the viewers. Items misplaced themselves, only to reappear in unexpected places with no logical explanation. One viewer, a skeptic named Alex, had initially scoffed at the idea of supernatural forces being at play. But after binge-watching the series well into the night, he found himself unable to shake off an overwhelming feeling of being watched. Every shadow seemed to hold a lurking presence, and every gust of wind felt like a whisper of something otherworldly. His sleep grew restless as nightmares plagued his mind, filled with images of pale figures with hollow eyes. Desperate to escape the grip of fear, Alex reached out to an old friend, Lily, who was well-versed in paranormal investigations. Lily had always been fascinated by the supernatural and had investigated various haunted locations over the years. Intrigued by Alex's accounts, she agreed to visit Echo Manor to see if the legends held any truth. On a moonlit night, Alex and Lily stood before the imposing gates of Echo Manor. The air was thick with tension as they stepped onto the estate's grounds, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. The mansion's facade loomed before them, its windows seeming to watch their every move. As they ventured deeper into the mansion, the atmosphere grew colder, and the echoes of their footsteps seemed to multiply, as if the very walls were whispering secrets. Strange symbols were etched onto the walls, mirroring those seen in the Netflix series. Lily's heart raced as she realized that the show's portrayal might have been more accurate than they had anticipated. The duo explored room after room, each filled with a sense of dread that seemed to grow with every step. As they reached the grand ballroom, a chilling wind swept through the space, extinguishing their flashlights. In the darkness, they heard faint laughter and the sound of footsteps approaching. Panicking, they fumbled for their flashlights and shone them toward the source of the noise. To their horror, they saw figures, pale and ethereal, darting through the ballroom, their hollow eyes fixed on Alex and Lily. The air was thick with an otherworldly presence, and the temperature dropped to an icy cold. Lily's instincts kicked in, and she began reciting incantations, attempting to banish whatever malevolent force had been stirred. But the figures only grew more agitated, their forms flickering in and out of existence. The walls seemed to close in on them, and the very ground beneath them seemed to shift. In a desperate bid for escape, Alex and Lily raced toward the mansion's entrance, their breaths visible in the frigid air. Just as they crossed the threshold, a bone-chilling wail echoed through the mansion, sending shivers down their spines. They stumbled out of the mansion, collapsing onto the cold ground as the night air rushed to fill their lungs. As they caught their breath, they dared to glance back at Echo Manor, only to find the mansion standing in darkness, as if it had vanished into the night. The Haunting of Echo Manor on Netflix had taken on a life of its own, a conduit through which the spirits of the mansion had reached out to the living world. Alex and Lily, forever changed by their encounter, knew that the series had inadvertently summoned something beyond their understanding, a force that bridged the gap between the living and the dead, leaving them with a haunting tale to tell for the rest of their lives. A close-knit group of friends had a tradition of spending Friday nights together, indulging in movie marathons and ordering takeout. One fateful evening, their routine took an unsettling turn. As they scrolled through Netflix's extensive library for something new, they discovered a hidden section labeled Dark Web Dread. Intrigued by the promise of unconventional horror tales, they clicked on the series, unknowingly setting off a chain of events that would plunge them into a nightmare beyond their wildest imagination. The first episode they watched was titled The Obsidian Pact, a story of a man who unknowingly makes a dark deal on the depths of the internet, leading to his life spiraling into chaos. As they finished the episode, their devices glitched for a moment, and a single word appeared on each of their screens: watched. It was as though the show was acknowledging their presence. Brushing it off as a technical glitch, they moved on to the second episode, Virtual Vengeance. This episode depicted a group of individuals being stalked and terrorized by an anonymous online entity after they uncovered a disturbing secret. As the episode reached its climax, a notification popped up on their screens: "You're not alone." Nervous laughter filled the room as they dismissed it as a clever marketing ploy. The third episode, Web of Lies, was more intense, revolving around a woman who becomes entangled in a web of deceit orchestrated by a malevolent online figure. As the episode concluded, their laughter waned, and an unsettling silence hung in the air. Suddenly, their Wi-Fi disconnected, plunging them into darkness. After a few anxious moments, their Wi-Fi reconnected, but everything was different. The lighting in the room was distorted, casting eerie shadows that seemed to dance on their own. Their devices displayed distorted screens filled with cryptic symbols and strange images. Panicked, they tried to leave the room, only to find the door locked. The windows, once showcasing the serene night outside, now revealed a swirling vortex of darkness. Desperation turned to dread as they realized they were trapped within the nightmare they had been watching. The episode's horrors had transcended the screen, and they were now pawns in a malevolent game. The dark web dread had pulled them into its grasp, and there was no escape. As they watched more episodes, their surroundings twisted and contorted, mirroring the unsettling scenarios on the screen. They were taunted by ominous messages that appeared on their devices, detailing their every move. Each time they tried to fight back or communicate with the outside world, the sinister online presence retaliated, subjecting them to hallucinations and paranoia-inducing tricks. Days turned into an eternity as they struggled to maintain their sanity, haunted by the relentless entity that seemed to thrive on their fear. Their bonds as friends strained under the weight of their shared nightmare. The line between reality and fiction blurred until they could no longer distinguish one from the other. In a desperate bid to break the cycle, they hatched a plan to confront the entity head-on, hoping to uncover its weakness. As they gathered around their devices to confront the final episode, the room trembled, and the air grew thick with dread. The screen flickered, displaying a sinister grin that seemed to materialize in the room. Their courage wavered, but united by their will to survive, they confronted the entity, hurling their questions and defiance at the screen. In a blinding flash of light, the room shook violently, and the entity let out a deafening scream. When the dust settled, their surroundings returned to normal, and the Dark Web Dread series had vanished from Netflix. Though they had escaped the clutches of the malevolent online presence, the scars of their ordeal remained. They had ventured into the depths of the dark web, where the line between reality and the virtual world had shattered, leaving them forever changed. And as they looked back at the experience, they realized that sometimes, the most terrifying horrors aren't confined to fiction, they can reach out and ensnare even the most unsuspecting souls. Nestled between rolling hills and an ancient forest, Netflix introduced a new and enigmatic series titled Cursed Reels. The series promised to take viewers on a nostalgic journey through classic horror films of the past, promising an immersive and spine-chilling experience like never before. Little did the unsuspecting audience know that the terror they were about to face would extend far beyond the screen. As the series premiered, people from all corners of the world logged into their Netflix accounts and started streaming the first episode of Cursed Reels. The opening credits were a montage of iconic horror movie scenes, beautifully intertwined with eerie music that sent shivers down spines. Each episode delved into a different classic horror film, from silent black and white movies to vintage slasher flicks. At first, the viewers were captivated by the show's attention to detail, the restoration of old films, and the nostalgic thrill of revisiting horror's golden age. Yet, as they progressed through the episodes, they began to notice peculiar occurrences. Shadows seemed to linger a moment too long after the film had moved on, and the chilling sound effects echoed faintly in their ears, even after they had paused the show. Whispers, barely audible, brushed against their subconscious, carrying words that sent chills down their spines. As the binge-watching continued, something deeply unsettling started to happen. People began to see flickers of movement in the corner of their eyes, distorted figures that bore an uncanny resemblance to the characters in the films. Some claimed to hear old-fashioned music playing softly in the background, despite their homes being dead quiet. The black and white aesthetic of the movies started to seep into their lives, turning everyday objects into monochrome versions that seemed out of place in the modern world. But the most horrifying part was yet to come. Viewers began to realize that the curse of the Cursed Reels was not confined to the screen. They started to have vivid nightmares, living through scenes from the classic horror films in excruciating detail. The line between reality and fiction blurred, and they would wake up in a cold sweat, uncertain if they had truly escaped the clutches of the curse. Desperation grew among those affected. Some tried to stop watching, but found themselves unable to resist the pull of the series. Others sought help from online forums, where they discovered that they were not alone in their ordeal. Together, they pieced together clues hidden within the episodes, hoping to uncover a way to break free from the curse that had engulfed their lives. As the town of Crestwood became a hub for those seeking to unravel the mystery, the forest at its outskirts seemed to grow darker and more foreboding. Whispers of long-forgotten legends echoed through the trees, tales of ancient curses tied to the land. Determined to break the curse, a group of brave souls ventured into the heart of the forest, hoping to find the source of the malevolent power. The forest was alive with eerie sights and sounds, and as they delved deeper, the group discovered an abandoned cinema hidden amidst the trees. Within its dusty halls, they found an ancient film projector, covered in cobwebs and barely functional. It was here that they realized the truth: the curse was born from the restless souls of forgotten actors and filmmakers, trapped between the realms of fiction and reality. With newfound determination, they set out to reassemble the pieces of the cursed film reels, aiming to free the tormented spirits and break the curse once and for all. The process was fraught with danger, as each step seemed to draw them closer to the clutches of the malevolent entities. Shadows danced at the edge of their vision, and whispers grew louder, luring them into a nightmarish world where the lines between the living and the dead blurred beyond recognition. In a climactic confrontation, the group managed to activate the film projector, projecting the cursed reels onto a makeshift screen. The air grew thick with tension as the spirits manifested, their ghostly forms intertwining with the images on the screen. In a surreal and terrifying battle of wills, the group fought to break the connection between the spirits and their on-screen counterparts, facing their own fears and the horrors of the past. As the final frame of film played out, the projector flickered and died, and an eerie silence descended upon the forest. The curse had been shattered, the spirits finally finding release. The forest seemed to exhale a sigh of relief, the atmosphere lightening as the malevolent presence lifted. In the aftermath, Crestwood returned to its peaceful existence, and the legend of the cursed reels became a cautionary tale passed down through generations. The series Cursed Reels was removed from Netflix, leaving behind only whispers of the terrifying events that had unfolded. And yet, the forest still stood, a silent witness to the boundary between reality and the shadowy depths of the human imagination.